Mr. Kelly Rogers. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. Great. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me on.
I could see it's bright and sunny behind you. I'm happy. It's sunny where I am. So you're in a good place. I'm in a good place.
That's right. It's cold, but it's sunny, so we'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to be talking not only about the sun, but green today.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Green. Yeah. Yeah. What kind of green are we talking about? Are we talking about money or are we talking about building materials?
Well, hopefully a little bit of both, but yeah, green building materials is what we're up to here. So
Yeah.
excited.
Well, yeah. So Kelly, you're my guest because you and I met through somebody else who was also a guest on the podcast. It's nice to meet great people. And I was interested in your story because you've got this way to use, an environmental angle for building homes and buildings for people that sounds pretty exciting. And that's what we're going to jump into today.
Yeah, yeah. So we're I've got probably a bit of a different story than maybe a lot of entrepreneurs out there, but School of Hard Knocks and few different challenges along the way has brought me to where I am today, but really excited about
Yeah.
Ecoplast Solutions and the technology and what we're up to here. So,
Well, let's start with that. This is a question I always start with, and I think people get a giggle out of it. Kelly Rogers, who the heck are you? And how is it that you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors and business owners all around the world about construction?
all right, well, yeah, I guess I could start. I'm just a normal guy that ended up getting into the trades early on, playing hockey, had no idea what I wanted to do. Didn't see myself originally going to college or business school for sure. Got into the trades, and refrigeration and HVAC was a trade I decided to go into.
Right.
My eye doctor told me, being partially colorblind, that I shouldn't be an electrician and shouldn't be a pilot. So started looking around, and refrigeration was another trade at the time, and it looked interesting. So I got into that. And I fell in love with the trade for sure. It was more of a technical trade that had a lot of appealing things to it. There was a lot of electrical in it and different things, but
How did that
troubleshooting.
go? Did you get zapped every once in a while for being
Oh,
colorblind?
of course, yeah, for sure. I had to come up with my own tricks how to tell the different wire colors apart, but nothing too bad to talk about there. So I survived.
Yeah.
And
I
then
could just imagine your first boss going, "You keep burning out these control modules. What's going on?" You're like, "Oh, they're all faulty. I don't know."
yeah, yeah. Luckily, it was mostly just white and black and red, and I can see those apart. So
Okay, good. Yeah.
I was got into that, and my first job was at a Red Deer. Really enjoyed the service side of it. Enjoyed dealing with customers. One of the biggest benefits, or I guess just fixing things and being that guy to be able to jump up on the roof when it's -30 and get somebody's heat going, and it definitely makes you feel good. It was quite rewarding, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We need to paint a picture of this for a second, Kelly, because you mentioned Red Deer. And so
yeah,
a lot of people don't know Red Deer, or as we used to call it in Alberta, dead beer.
yeah,
And so you're in the prairies of Canada, right?
yes,
So,
yeah.
and then for our American listeners, where Kelly is north of North Dakota. So if you think North Dakota gets cold, drive north a few more hours and jump on the roof with Kelly, and that's the weather. That's where you were working, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when your eyelids are freezing shut when you're
Oh,
trying to fix a rooftop unit on the top of a building, that's how you know it's cold.
yeah. Gee.
But I loved it. It was very rewarding to get into the service side of it and learn a lot as you go. And then I ended up moving around a little bit in Alberta. Moved to Calgary, Alberta, in the city there. Worked for another company. Got into a lot of data center cooling, a lot of
Oh,
refrigeration.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
data centers, everything from small service data centers to big mega data centers by the end of it. which again was just very technical, very interesting. Every day was different, so you never got bored. And that was the trade treated me really well. I liked a lot of it. And then as I went, I just started to get more and more interested in the business side of it. Like, how does this work? How does this business operate? You know, how do you charge out customers? Everything from right from the beginning, right? So
Yeah.
And then decided to move to Edmonton and start up my own business, and started up a service, refrigeration, heating, and air conditioning business there. And that's where I really got into making lots of mistakes and learning everything the hard way.
Welcome to the club, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And and then just went from there. Got through that, got to meet a lot of other business owners, start to surround myself with other business owners and like-minded people and entrepreneurs, and was introduced to EO Accelerator in Edmonton there. Got into that, and just here I am now. So then I guess the one other step there is that I have since exited that business in Edmonton in refrigeration and heating, and then was introduced to the new product now that Ecoplast Solutions is doing, making buildings out of recycled pop bottles. So
craziness.
I never would have dreamed I'd be here, but here we are. And
who would have thought you could make buildings out of recycled pop bottles?
Yeah, no kidding. I got behind it right away. I got very passionate about the idea of upcycling plastic. That just kind of has its obvious reasons, but for me, when I first heard about it, was for refrigeration, on the refrigeration side of things, just being that it was an insulated panel.
If you're making a walk-in cooler or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. Walk-in boxes, just the insulation properties of it. And then it went from there. Yeah. So
let's dial back just a tiny little bit, because there's something you mentioned that a lot of people have heard me talk about on this show, and it's EO.
Yeah.
It's these funny two letters. And then you were in EO Accelerator, which is a program that's the program we created for companies that aren't qualified for EO yet, because you're still getting your systems and your processes worked out. You're not at the revenue level. But if I can just take a second, I'll do a little intro, and then maybe you talk about your experience with Accelerator, because what I'm hoping is people listening go look for their own chapter in their own city, because this group EO, which stands for Entrepreneurs Organization, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
Right. So I know you're in Canada, but it's not just in Canada. It's in the United States. It's all over Europe. It's in Asia. It's in Australia. It's everywhere. But people don't know about it, and it's actually the thin string that you and I met through, right?
Yeah.
So EO is the Entrepreneurs Organization. For those of you listening, when I start talking about strategic planning and thinking creatively about how to build your business, how to get outside the box, and most importantly, hang out with other people like me and Kelly who are thinking about the future and taking steps towards it. If you want to hang out with people like that, then go find your own chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization. Now, when you get to their website or whatever, you're going to say, oh, my revenue level is X and I don't qualify for EO yet, or I do. Make your decision at that point. You were in EO Accelerator. Can you quickly tell us about that?
Yeah. So I was introduced to it through Luke Williamson, was a great guy in EO in Edmonton. And we just really hit it off at a meeting. He was introducing me to EO, and just kind of, we came kind of from the same path in a sense that we were just kind of grew up in the trade, right? Yeah. His trade was IT, but never, didn't go the university route of business. So I was looking to surround myself with more like-minded entrepreneur folks. And just because, my main friend group wasn't a bunch of business owners.
You're a hockey guy. Not that they're not business owners, but yeah.
Yeah. So for me to, go home at the end of the day and talk about your business problems just wasn't the thing. That group of support wasn't there for me. Right.
Yeah.
So Accelerator, I joined Accelerator, and there's different learning days involved, and a lot more, you get your groups together, your accountability groups, they're called, where you can just talk with other like-minded people and, share what you're going through and ideas. And bounce all kinds of things off each other. And that was just a whole new world for me. So it was really great.
It's, that I started in what would be now called EO Accelerator, but I started in college. It was called ACE at the time, the Association of Collegiate Entrepreneurs. And it was just a bunch of pimple-faced kids who were like, I have an idea. I'm going to be a business owner.
Yeah.
But I've been in love with that organization ever since. I've had 2 qualifying EO companies. I've sold both of them, and I'm now working on qualifying to get back in. So I'm glad you have that experience. Just before we move off the EO thing, when you were talking to the other people in the group, were they all refrigeration experts? Were they all construction experts, or what were they?
No, that was the thing. It was from all different areas of business. So
that's right.
It really opened my eyes. I mean, there was accountants, there was project managers, or painters, to
snow removal, to caterers. It doesn't matter, right?
Every other kind of business, to financial experts. Like, it was just, so all sorts of different parts of business that come together, and we all have the same issues, but in different ways, right? But you can still relate at that entrepreneurial level, which was really, really nice.
Yeah, and that's what's missing. When this show here, and people who listen to my show regularly will recognize me saying this. This show is about the business of the construction business. And what I learned through EO is it's the business of business. It doesn't matter if the guy sitting next to you is a doctor with 16 medical clinics. He's still in business. And it's the business of running those medical clinics. So I'm really glad that you took that path, and look at you now. So you were in Edmonton, in the Chuck, as we call it. We've got nicknames for all these places, but you're not there anymore. You're at a place called Lloyd. So people listening are like, what the heck are these guys talking about? And Lloyd's got a funny thing because it actually straddles 2 provinces.
Yeah, Lloydminster, the border city right on Saskatchewan and Alberta. So
are you on the left side of the city or the right side of the city?
Well, I'm on the Alberta side. So
Alberta, you're on the left side,
Call it the left, yeah,
the left side. That's funny. I remember going up there for work and driving down. I don't know if it's Main Street. What's the street that divides Lloyd?
Yeah, it's pretty much Main Street.
Yeah, but on the left side is Alberta, and on the right side is Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, as they said in one of the Adam Sandler movies. Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get to this Ecoplast thing. I took you off our game here for a second, but this whole building stuff out of recycled pop bottles, the end of that sentence is what? How does that work?
Yeah. So I feel like it's nothing like people imagine when they first hear it. But it's amazing technology. Essentially, pop bottles are recycled, ground up, melted down into PET. It is PET plastic, so polyethylene terephthalate. And basically that is, long story short, that is made into a closed cell foam. Mm-hmm. So it's a high density structural foam, essentially. And then we take that and we design and engineer it into panels. So we laminate it, add skins to it, make it into a structural insulated panel. And then we take that and build that into different structures and different, the main one being housing. So
give me a sense, what's the size of a panel? Are we talking about 4x8 sheets, 8x10 sheets? What are they?
So our foam, the raw foam comes in close to a 4x8 sheet. We get that out of Eastern Canada. So it's a Canadian made product, but we don't do that here. We do everything else. So we take the raw foam, and we do have different thicknesses from 3/4 inch up to 6 inch thick.
Okay, let me stop for a second, because the Americans listening are going, wow, this doesn't matter. This whole episode's useless to me. Stop thinking that way. We're talking about an entrepreneur, Kelly, who found an opportunity in the market to do something green and still run a profitable business. So if you are in South Texas, South Georgia, South Boston, South Phoenix, doesn't matter. Listen to what Kelly's saying and forget about what country he's in. What we're talking about here is taking the creative part of his business mind and applying it to local problems and finding solutions. Yeah. So sometimes people hear that and go, oh, I'm never going to get my stuff out of Portland or out of Eastern Canada. And they think, well, this doesn't apply to me. That's not what the show's about. This show's about being creative.
Well, we just happen to be the first, but it is making its way into the States as well. So
Sure.
yeah, we just happen to be the ones that took that product and built the first house out of it in Nova Scotia, and then now in Western Canada. It's coming, it's growing.
So Canadian. So
Yeah.
listen, this let's call it a 4x8 sheet. How heavy is that thing? Can one guy lift it? Or is it a crane lift?
Oh yeah, no, one guy can lift it. It's essentially, it is foam, right? So it's closed cell foam. Once it's laminated, after we've added our laminates to it, it's just over 5 pounds per square foot of our 6-inch panel.
Oh, okay. So it's less than drywall. It doesn't weigh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like weight wise.
For example, the strength to weight ratio of it is one of our 6-inch panels was put in a wind tunnel test, an 8x8 panel, and it maxed out the machine as far as strength. So they put over the equivalent of over 326 miles per hour on one of our panels, and it didn't break, it didn't fail.
Wow.
And that was the first panel that they had ever loaded into that test facility there, into that exact same mold, by hand. So every other material, if it was concrete panels or anything else that met that strength, had to be lifted in by crane.
Oh, wow. And you guys lifted it in by hand.
Ours was the first that was lifted in by hand. Yeah. So strength to weight ratio, it's quite a bit lighter.
So when we're talking about how's this thing held up? So talk to me or talk to us as if you're a framer coming up to the job site. How are we going to put these panels up, and how do they stay in place so we can get the first floor on and then add in our trusses?
So it is more similar to a SIP than framing, although our panels have no studs at all. So it's quite a bit different than framing as far as there's no thermal bridging, there's no studs in the panels at all. And the way we put them together is more along the lines of bonding them and adhesing them together, using similar methods to fiberglassing.
Wow. And then how do I still need to drywall this house? Do I need sheetrock? You
do. Yep. So the interior is finished out with drywall. That also helps with fire code, just like a traditional house, right?
Sure.
So yeah, drywall on the inside, and on the exterior, it can be just left painted. There's no requirements for any additional cladding or siding or anything, but lots of people for residential housing prefer to add some kind of aesthetics to it.
Right.
So there's many options and materials that are compatible with it for the exterior aesthetics.
So in order to attach those aesthetics, what do you do? Just run 1x2s on it? Or
on the outside, you don't even need to.
Like, can you pierce that laminate with, like, can I drive nails or screws right into that, or do I need to drive them into some sort of?
Yeah, you can use you can screw right into it.
Wow.
And you don't have to worry about hitting a stud because there is none. So the whole shell essentially becomes one monolithic piece. Kind of like a block of Lego, right? So you can just screw right into it, and that
doesn't pierce the envelope for water, for humidity, nothing. As long as you don't go through, right?
Exactly, yeah. Because not only is there the outside laminate, but then there's closed cell foam, and then another completely sealed layer of laminates on the interior as well. So it acts as your shell, your vapor barrier, your air barrier, your insulation, all in one.
So who buys this? Like, let's talk about the customer. What's the need for this? Why are people buying this, and who are they?
Well, the benefits of the product is absolutely huge. Who's buying it is customers, homeowners, and builders that want. First of all, they're first interested in it because it's recycled material. It's an alternative material. If you're a green builder, there's lots of association with green building, and it's getting more and more relevant and common. So there's that, and then there's the speed in which we can assemble a house. So
I saw that on your website. Was that 12 hours for that house to go up?
14 hours for the first one. And then the second one was about 17 hours for a 2-story. So yeah, the assembly time is
That's a weekend.
unparalleled.
That's a weekend build. If I wanted to put another, maybe a cottage up or an outbuilding on a property.
It is, yeah, yeah. I was for our last build here. I was about an hour behind the crew, getting some camera gear ready because we were gonna document some things, and showed up about an hour behind them, and they already had one wall of the house up. So it was, yeah, it goes up quick, and there's no noise, and the job site is, it's very, very less invasive of a construction site, waste wise, and speed and noise and everything.
Wow. So
yeah.
I'm imagining this, but I want you to correct me. Is the application for this people that want to put a solid, you still want a quality structure. Let's assume quality structure, long life. But is it people who are doing homes in subdivisions or off-grid living? Is it people who are putting cottages on lakes? What are we, barns?
Honestly, it's been all those things, because those different people from looking for those different things are coming to us for different reasons, actually. So the cottage at the lake, they want low maintenance. They want something that they can go out to, they can leave for the week and not have to worry about shingles. They don't have to worry about, any maintenance on the property in the wintertime. And then there's people that want to do infills, and they only have so much space. So, our 6-inch wall, to meet the thermal value and the strength and everything that comes with our walls, you're looking at maybe 14 inches thick for other products.
So they're getting more square footage in the house,
right? So they gain square footage on a skinny home or an infill type build.
Right.
And then there's people that are off grid that are, they want the most sustainable, the most environmentally
solar, everything.
Solar, everything, and we tick that box too. So,
wow, that's great. And so, do people actually call you and say, "Look, we want some sort of green, a home with green"? I don't even know what to call it. A green theme, a green, recognition or respect of green.
Yeah.
And we're willing to, we're willing to pay for it. And then you come back and say, this is going to be X more or X less than a stick build.
Yeah. Yeah. People, there's different certification groups out there that are, needing to meet those certain criteria, like passive house and net zero house. Those are all becoming more popular. So we get lots of interest of people looking for that. Because they need to hit those efficiency values and the building tightness, the air changes per hour for passive housing, and we can meet that with our standard build with no additional measures. So it's, we get inquiries, honestly, for all sorts of stuff, and it's great, and it's also one of the things as a startup is, you've got a product that can do so many things, but you got to stay focused on one thing. And that's one of the big challenges, right? So yeah, it's an amazing product, and we're starting to roll, getting really dialed into housing and breaking into the housing market. And that's where we're going to find the most value for it. So
yeah. When let's dig a little bit into that, finding that perfect client, and as you mentioned, startup, because you guys are still getting going. What's the most effective marketing you're finding? And here's why I'm asking, because a bunch of people listening here are in other trades, and this is generally interesting to them. This is like, okay, I understand the green, I understand net zero, I understand that, but I may not do anything about it. But there are a bunch of people listening as well who are like, how do I do that? How do I get started in Nebraska? How do I get started in California? How are you going out and finding that perfect client? What's your tools without giving away too many secrets?
Well, we have to do a lot of online presence. For such a new product, there's a lot of education that goes with it. So our marketing has been, and again, we've made lots of mistakes there too. What we think works and maybe doesn't work. Online has been huge for us. We're doing home shows and different things as well.
Right.
To reach the trade professionals that are in the industry, because everybody everybody's interested in new technology and green technology, but like you said, they might not actually care about building a house. So trying to find those other industry professionals, we're relying a lot on groups within industry, I guess, and
Sure.
like podcasts like yours, right, where you have that audience, because there's a lot of education that goes with it. So we're really doing anything and everything we can to get our name out there, get the exposure. But yeah, that's been very interesting, navigating that as well. So
Yeah, it's constant, and you touched on this already, but understanding who your perfect client is helps so much. The painful part of understanding that perfect client is as soon as you decide our perfect client or our perfect job, perfect customer looks like this, the very next phone call you get is not the perfect customer. And turning that first customer down hurts so bad. It
yeah,
hurts.
that's got to be one of my biggest downfalls as from even my previous business, right? It's just starting to say no, and being able to say no is the toughest thing. But you want to do your clients favors too, right? You're not doing them any favors in saying yes to everything. So
Yeah.
focusing on what you're good at is how you're going to get to the next level. So
Well, this goes off in a lot of different directions, Kelly. And so you can take a sip of coffee if you want here. I'm about to go off on my soapbox.
yeah.
The staff that we hire, the crew that we hire is skilled at something. And maybe we call them carpenters, but let's assume that for a second. Not, we're not going to talk about electricians or anything else, roofers. Just say we've hired carpenters, but not all carpenters are the same. You've got carpenters that are really good at kitchen and bath renos. You've got carpenters who do architectural millwork. You've got carpenters who do fences and decks, and you got carpenters who do concrete forms. They're not the same carpenter. And so let's just say I'm a carpentry company and I take a job doing concrete forms today, and next week I put the guys on a kitchen and bath reno. That's the wrong application. You're putting your guys in the wrong place. They're overskilled for one thing and they're underskilled for another. And a lot of us listening, a lot of you guys listening are good at all those things. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people we hire who show up and we're happy they have a tool belt.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so when I talk, we need to talk about our ideal customer. Some people are like, oh, Rubino, geez, just get past that. No. Your ideal customer, if it is fences and decks, then you start to hire people who are good at fences and decks. They're good at pergolas and overhang decks and outdoor living spaces. That's your thing. That's your shtick. Stay there because your people are good at it. Your suppliers know what you buy. You know what to buy from the suppliers. Your tools are set up for it, etc. It's a different person than saying that carpenter can now do cabinet installations. It's just a different thing. And so that's why I asked you that question. You have to know. We all have to know who is our perfect customer, and then we can make our business revolve around that.
Yeah.
I'm done. That was my soapbox.
Yeah. And I mean, and it does go in so many directions, much like when you're hiring in your business, right? There's, estimating to guys in the shop to everything. And, so a lot of people don't enjoy estimating, but there's people, surprisingly to me, people that do enjoy that, right?
Here's a Canadian joke for you. This is for everybody listening. Estimators are like hockey goalies. They've just got this different sense of humor. Did you ever notice that? Like they're in the team, they're on the team, they're just a little different. And that's a good estimator. They're just a little different.
Yeah.
Like a hockey goalie.
Can definitely relate. Yeah.
Were you a goalie? What was your position?
No, I'm a defenseman.
Okay.
So yeah, dealt with a lot of goalies.
Like that. Did you ever watch Letterkenny?
Not really. I've seen a few, but
greatest show in the world. For anybody listening,
Yeah.
watch Letterkenny. I think it's on Netflix or Crave or something like that. It's so good. So
Yeah.
if you play hockey, Letterkenny's right up your alley.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely relate to it. I know that. I've seen some, but I didn't get right into it.
That's okay. It's okay. It's a little crass in some places. But going back to the ideal client thing, this is where you're about to say no to me. Are you ready to say no?
Yeah, let's do it.
When you start talking about these structural foam panels that are lightweight, that are good for refrigeration, in my head, I'm thinking, can I build one of these on the back of my trailer? for when I go hunting and I need to hang some elk or moose quarters for the drive back. Throw a little AC unit on it. And this is where you go, no, Dom, you could buy that, but we're not selling it to you. Because that's the first thing in my mind is I could save all that weight on my trailer.
It's funny that you say that because that was the first prototype I built.
Really?
Yeah, no joke. I actually, we came here and we built a couple cooler trailers, mobile cooler trailers to just to prove the concept. And it was a fun project. It was more about, proving all the insulation values and all the properties of it. Right. And I had refrigeration background. So I thought, I'll find a refrigeration unit and we'll get it on there. And
just put it on there. Suddenly all of our listeners from Montana and Colorado and New Mexico perk their ears up. They're like, well, what can I do with that?
Yeah. So funny you say that, but
well, it's the first thing in my mind. I've been waiting to blurt it out the whole time. I'm like, can I use this for hunting? Yeah. Or I guess an ice fishing shack for our friends out in the East, right? Would be the most insulated thing and light, I guess, to drag out there.
That's right. Yeah. When we started again, that was another thing in Saskatchewan and all around here, there's so many lakes where ice fishing really, and it got really popular during COVID because you can just go out and kind of isolate yourself on the ice and fish and still hang out. So we've done a ton of ice fishing shacks too, just previously, again, just to experiment with the material and train our people and just kind of prove the concept and all that. So we started small with all those projects and that's led to this. So
technical question, it's going to make me sound dumb, but I've never been shy about that. Does the weight of your product change the type of foundation that needs to be built?
No.
So you still need your stand. If you're on slab, you make a slab and it's still the same. And if you're doing a foundation wall, you still do a wall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we can go on to any traditional foundation or slab. So that doesn't really change. Yeah.
What do you think the labor cost difference is? Have you ever done that? Like, because you talked about putting that place up, a 2-story place, in 17 hours. Is that just getting it ready for roofing, or what does 17 hours get me?
That was the whole exterior shell of the home, including the roof.
Okay.
So that was all the walls. Half of the house was rooftop deck above the first story, and then the second story had the roof and everything on there. So that was everything in that 17 hours. But
the roof still has just your plywood tongue and groove T&G, or is it like roofed roof?
Roofed roof. Our panels. Okay. Yeah, our panels with composite beams laminated on the underside of it sits directly on our wall system.
Oh, these panels are part of the roofing system as well.
That's correct. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you still use stick framing on top of that.
Nope. That's why a lot of our designs are flat roof or sloped, like shed style roof.
Sure.
Is we can use our panels directly and utilize that space with the strength of our product. That space is often utilized for a rooftop deck or a garden or
why not? Yeah.
Because because it's never going to leak and moisture is not an issue. So, and it's got the strength, so we can utilize that space up there.
So then this is the question, and I'll bet you a lot of people listening have this question too. What's the labor difference between standard, and we're going to talk about stick framing, 2x4 stick framing. I know there's other places in the world that do masonry, but let's talk about stick framing. What's the difference in labor time, stick framing versus this type of system?
Well, I guess I only know how long it takes us to put up a house. And it does take some time. We prefab everything in the shop. But other than that, I mean, we've got the whole shell of a house up in 2 to 3 days. So it depending on the design and depending on the framing involved, that could take weeks or months with traditional builds. So
yeah, I'm just thinking that are people willing to pay a premium for this product then? Because we want to start talking about profit margins here a little bit. If you're able to save on the labor, you're able to probably pull some more of profit and add value to the customer.
Yeah. I think our material itself is a little bit more money for for the foam and for the design, engineering, manufacturing of the material.
Yeah.
But that's where we make up for that with the on-site labor cost saving. So yeah, we're probably, depending on lumber prices and the market, we're probably on par or to, maybe a 10 to 15% premium cost wise to traditional build. But
just
then
on materials though, just on materials.
On materials. And then you start factoring in your return on investment for your energy efficiencies and maintenance and everything else from there. So yeah.
So good. I'm glad. So your job today is to bring us a new creative way of thinking in all of our businesses, because you've touched on refrigeration, a little bit of HVAC, ruining some electrical control modules, framing, a little bit of foundation work, some ice fishing, some hunting, all of it. We've touched on it all.
Yeah, we do it all. And made a lot of mistakes along all those paths. So that's how I got to where we are today. So
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. There's other people listening who also are innovative in the way they're thinking and who are moving towards, curious about green or already going down the green path. And I'm sure you guys all hang out in your own online forums. But if somebody wanted to find you in this big wide world, where would we find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at Ecoplast-Solutions.com. That's our website. We've got lots of information and different projects on the go on there. You can reach out to me personally. My email is krogers@ecoplast-solutions.com. Send me an email and I'd be happy to chat and see if I can help you out.
Do not ask him for a moose cooler box for the back of your trailer. He no longer makes those.
No, don't do that. Well,
all right. Kelly, thanks so much for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks a lot for having me. Pleasure talking to you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Dom.